We're going way down to the motherland. In the beginning, there was Africa.
The year is 2012, and so 2012 was the first year that I came into contact with breakdancing. I had never danced before. I was 21 years old, and just looking at it and seeing how amazing and how photogenic it was, how impressive it was, I remember thinking in my mind, this is something I want to do. And so from 2012, I started to try to look around and see where I can get help, who knows breakdancers, which are the locations where they train from, and from then henceforth it now became a journey for me. Most people who see us do it now, most people who know me now, when they look at me, it looks very easy. It looks like something that did not take as much time or as much effort. But I will be honest with you, breakdancing has been the hardest thing I have ever had to do. Because not many people that do breakdancing know how to teach it. Most of them just know how to do it, how to perform it. And for me, this became the hardest struggle, trying to learn it. Because especially having come from a background where I had never danced before, going straight into breakdancing became almost impossible because musicality wasn't there, flexibility wasn't there. I did not even know how to position myself, how to put certain shapes into order. A move such as the flares. The flares is one of the moves that people know from breakdancing. It took me almost a year to learn just flares. And when it comes to breaking, you need to have an arsenal of moves, not just one move. So if it's taking you a whole year just to learn one move, you can imagine how long it will take to learn all the other moves. Another thing that became a major fight for me as a breaker was the competitiveness of breaking. There's a lot of dance forms, but breaking, particularly the level of competitiveness in breaking, is quite something. It's quite something. And it's something that you understand. It comes with the explosiveness of the moves, the ego that comes with, that most dancers who do breaking, you have to have a big ego. And so for me, for many years, this was a big fight because, I came from, my background wasn't particularly aggressive. And I wasn't particularly a very competitive person in this regard. But over the years, something that I came to understand is you have to have a competitive edge and at the same time be able to take losses when they come. So for me, when it comes to breaking, I look at it in two ways. When you go into a dance battle, you either win or you get a lesson. I don't see it as a loss. So for a lot of people, I've said it previously, there's a lot of people who end up beefing or having problem between each other just because someone won a battle against you. But for me, over the years, one thing that happened is I developed a system for myself that whenever I lose against someone, I will lift their hand up. So that it's not just a win for them, but it's also an acceptance from me that they did win. And it's something that has happened with me for the longest time. And even when I win, if I win against you, I will also take your hand and lift it up so that you also know that I recognize your work also. And it's something that I think it's something that needs to be there more within the dance community and within the breaking community because the competition is so high that sometimes when you lose, it sort of demoralizes you. And I think this is something that is not supposed to be the case. You don't have to be demoralized just because you lost a battle because in breakdancing, some days your body responds to the moves you're telling it to do, your body responds. And then on some days, you're having a bad day, you're trying to do a certain move, the body is not responding according to how you want it to respond. So, you know, over the years for me, competition has been like, it's a good thing to be competitive. Right now, like, I'm a very competitive person. Like, even if you were drinking water, I would probably want to win. But one thing I understood is, in competition, whether you win or whether you lose, you know, it does not matter. It's either you get a win or you get a lesson. And so this is something that I also hope, you know, might be a culture that we feed into the new generation of dancers and break dancers, that winning or losing is not the most important thing in breaking. The experience is the most important part. What is important is take the lesson. If you lose, it's a lesson, take it. If you win, also, please, don't let it get to your head, because you win today. If the same battle was to be held 2 days later, or even maybe an hour later, someone different will probably win. So this has been another fight that I've been struggling with, but you know, with time you sort of start to figure things out. And I would say also growing up, like I've been 10 years in the game. Once you're doing something for 10 years, you go in levels, you keep learning stuff. And for me, this has been one of the biggest lessons. Like, competition is good, be a competitive person, but also know, like, when you don't win, take the lesson. I think another entity that really, played a significant role also in my growth was Uganda, the country called Uganda, more specifically the Breakdance Project Uganda. I think it was 2013 also, or 2014, the first time that Breakfast Jam came to Kenya for the Kenya eliminations. And the Breakfast Jam, for those of you who do not know, is an annual breakdance event that takes place in Kampala, Uganda. And this is another group of people who have played a significant role, because I remember before the Breakfast Jam came to Kenya, like, we did not know that breakdancing was something that was very big outside Kenya. We thought it was just a Kenyan thing. And in 2013 was the first time that Breakfast Jam came to Kenya, and they traveled with some of the top, breakdancers from Uganda. For the first time, I remember seeing the Ugandan breakdancers dance, like the way they were throwing down. It was very different from the way the Kenyan counterparts were doing it. So from power moves to footwork, to musicality, their interpretation of things was very different from the Kenyan one. And, Abrams also, like, this guy, I remember he specifically talked to me and he told me about, like, I see you pushing, I see you, like, trying to do something, and I hope you keep doing it, because this thing will take you far. And at the time, you're still very new to breaking. At the time when he told me this, I did not particularly, like, it's not like I did not take him seriously, but it did not hit me that what he was saying would actually come to be. And a couple of years later, we get the chance to go to Uganda for the first time. For, I think it was Uganda B-Boy City, which was a qualifier for Taipei B-Boy City in Kampala. And for the first time, I remember the qualifier had 120 something breakdancers competing for a slot to be part of the top 16. So you can imagine, like, it's a crazy thing. And most breakdancers in Uganda, like, are very, very good. And this was not just a Uganda thing. It was breakdancers from Congo, breakdancers from South Africa, like breakdancers from all over East Africa, coming to just get that one spot to go and represent all of Africa, actually, at the Taipei B-Boy City Finals, which happens in Taiwan. And this was another learning moment for me, because for the first time I also met the B-Boy called B-Boy Bojin, the guy from Taipei B-Boy City, Africa. And this person has become another influential person in my journey as a breakdancer, because a few years later he calls me up to join the African Brotherhood called B-Boy City Africa, which comprises of 7 of some of the top breakdancers in Africa. So like these are doors opening, without me even realizing. I'm fighting my own fight, like with breaking. For me, it was very difficult, to get into some of these spaces and to be able to actually fit in. But the people I am meeting along my journey are making it very easy for me to fit in. People like Abrams. Abrams is a legend. At the time, he was the member of the Rocksteady crew, the legendary Rocksteady crew. And for such a person to be telling you that your journey is going somewhere, it gives you, it's a big morale booster. You start to value what you're doing because you're seeing people who are actually good at it valuing what you're doing. And I don't think I will be anywhere close to where I have reached in my journey as a breaker, if not for Breakfast Jam. Because also us going into Uganda, we were able to see how they do community outreach programs, which for me touched me in a very major way. Like the community outreach programs that are done by Breakdance Project Uganda are actually one of the reasons why me and B-Boy Drift co-founded our project called King of the Street. Because back then I remember in Kenya, breaking was all about meeting in ciphers, meeting in battles and battling. But we had not yet gotten to a space where we were doing community outreach programs. So basically going into communities, speaking to communities, breakdancing in front of them, and making breaking as easily accessible to them as possible. And this is something that was very big in Uganda, and it spoke to why the breakdancing scene and the dancing in Uganda in general was very big, because they do a lot of community outreach. And so, for me, understanding this different aspect, of breaking sort of opened my eyes in a different way that I had never seen before. That you can actually go into your community, teach breakdancing, have fun with the community, make breaking easily accessible to them. Before you were waiting for people to show up to breakdancing event, only for you to realize that you can actually go to them. And these are small things that factored in. For me, the name Mzushiafrica, people don't know the name Mzushiafrica just because. It's because we went into communities, we went to clubs, we went to parties, we went to major events. We made sure people saw breakdancing, we brought it to them. We did not wait for them to just see it maybe online or somewhere. And I think this has attributed in a big way to why a lot of people know me as a breaker, and also the many opportunities that have come my way as a breaker over the years have a lot to do with this part. The fact that we are able to go into community.
Human bad manners, killing is my character trait. Pia kuna chakras, fake love is worse than real hate.
I don't know, sometimes we do not give enough credit to people who it's due to. For me, Breakfast Jam, Breakdance Project Uganda, the likes of Abrams, the like of Kawisimak, Jora MC, these guys have played a major role in shaping me as a dancer, and I would like to give due credit to them. Because even us, right now we're doing events in Kenya. We have the King of the Street, we have Return of the Cypher, we have The Awakening. We will not be doing any of these events had we not traveled to Uganda, or had we not met, the likes of Abrams or the Breakfast Jam who came to Kenya. The fact that they came made us realize we could do more. There was more that could be done within the breaking community, as opposed to before when we thought the only thing we had to do was battle. So this is another big, important aspect of my life. This year, the Breakfast Jam is celebrating 10-year anniversary since, the Breakfast Jam. And they have, not just in Kenya, I think for the whole East African region, they have been a major contributor to the growth of breakdancing within the region.
Una catfish, hapo dunga, ana heme odero na nilidunga, unazuba, natkolunga, utaperembo ama utatumwa, ruka, mimba, nkome dunga puma, huka, anadai ati kunifunga, review yako staki ataka ni star 5, view yako ibambi ataka una matako, nadai arifi yako, huyo mwenye, leo ni saa tona na yona kasabato, sidai tu za macho, lipa deni ama napita na sistako, sidai hapa za vako. Yaman Niwapi hapo panatoa hiyo aroma, niwashie kimoja sidai kasoba, nishikie kikuota ntabai kasoda.
Tuna fist duda, wazing na mamgana zoo na mabuka.